Do you have an unmanageable workload? If you do, this is the framework that I use to help teams to get more work done. The framework is fantastic. I love it purely because it uses the inverse of the problem to find the solution. People are great at complaining and saying reasons why they can't do their work, but they're not great at saying why they can do their work or how to actually fix the problem to be able to do their work. So this is how you use the framework. The first thing to do is to work out what the actual problem is. Like what the title suggests, we're going to be talking about an unmanageable workload. From there, what you do is you write down all the things that make it harder to make that to actually do that job, and then you do the inverse, so you flip them, and they are some solutions. So I'm just going to be explaining them and then flipping them as we go. However, I suggest that you write them all down on a bit of paper or on a in a document, whatever it is, and then flip them and then work through the actual solutions in a more like business type environment. Okay, so the first way to make it harder would be to have less staff. The less people that you have working on a job, the longer it's going to take. So obviously the inverse of that is having more staff. It's just going to make it a hell of a lot easier. Obviously, that's not a fix for every single problem. Getting more staff takes money and resources and onboarding. It's more of a long-term strategic goal, unless you're able to use like Fiverr or something like that and just get short contractors in to fix small problems. That's a pretty good way of solving that problem. Okay, the next way to make it even harder would be to have poor resource allocation, which means that you need to do absolutely everything yourself, right? You're like, oh, if you want it done properly, you do it yourself. That is a horrible way of doing it, and you're going to make your life a hell of a lot harder. So what you need to do is have great resource allocation. You need to know who is good at doing what specific tasks. So if you've got different parts of a business that do certain things, you need to be passing off those chunks of jobs to them so that they can pass them back to you, put all the pieces together, and you pass it on and you finish your job. And this kind of flows in with the last one. Another way to make it a lot harder is to do every single job that you're able to do, regardless of whether it's your job or not, right? Because that's going to take a hell of a lot more time. Just because you can do a job doesn't mean that you should do it, right? If you've been in a job for a little while, you're going to go up the ladder. You're going to get better. You're going to learn more skills. You're going to be paid more, right? And you're likely going to have someone below you, right? Just because you can do their job doesn't mean you should be doing everything for them because you think you can do it better than them. You should be teaching them how to do it better, and you should be giving those benchmarks and frameworks so that they are able to do it as good as you used to do it, and hopefully better. Like really, they should be able to do it better than you because you're telling them how to do it. So then they're already starting where you finished, right? And that's the best way to then be able to get more work done. Another way to make it harder would be to work less hours. So if you cut your time in half, you have half the time to be able to do all the jobs. Clearly, the inverse of that is just to work more hours. And like this is a solution, but it's not the solution that I would recommend. There's only so many hours in the day and you don't want to just work endlessly. A lot of people that I see in my job who stay back and work a lot of additional hours, I just see that as poor time management. I don't see that as an actual like, oh, they're working hard, they're so dedicated. That's not it. I think that they have poor time management. I think they have poor resource allocation, and they're not able to let go of small tasks to get the big jobs done. I hope that these examples have highlighted the framework to you, and I hope it works for you. It really has worked for me. I think it's tremendous in the way that it helps you to think outside the box and helps you to think about the way that you use resources in getting jobs done. If you like the content and you've enjoyed it, you've learned something, can you hit the like and follow? I really appreciate it, and it costs nothing. Thanks, guys.